Hey guys, it's Ty with Ty the Dog Guy on the Daily, and I want to talk about a subject that I get asked about a lot, and that is the difference between a service dog, a therapy dog, and an emotional support dog. Now, I do have other videos about this, and I do have other things on the website about this, or at least contain this information, but I didn't have one specific video, podcast, whatever. I didn't have one specific piece of content that simply outlined the difference here. And because it's something that we get asked so much, I thought I'd make a video about it and a podcast about it. That way we could get the information out there really well. So, like I say, service dog, therapy dog, emotional support dog. Now, there is a difference between them, and there's actual legal distinctions between the three of them. And that's why it's important, because oftentimes people interchange the words, without really understanding what they mean. And so they mean service dog, but they say therapy dog. They mean emotional support dog, but they're saying service dog or whatever. And so it's important that when you're embarking on getting a therapy dog or a service dog or an emotional support animal, an ESA, that you understand what the difference is. And so a service dog is a dog that has been trained to provide at least one service that mitigates a disability, that helps somebody with a disability to live their life. So, for example, if somebody is in a wheelchair and the dog has been trained to go hit the door button to let them in buildings and pick up their cell phone and keys when they drop it, that's a service dog. The dog has been trained to do a service. If a dog is a dog that has been trained to smell when your blood sugar is low or high because you have diabetes, that's a service dog. If a dog has been trained to help navigate you because you have vision impairment, that's a service dog. And so the dog has been trained, the term that we use is task work. The dog has been trained with task work to do a service that helps somebody with a disability. And so a service dog has various rights. A service dog can ride on a plane. A service dog can go in a grocery store. A service dog can go in a restaurant. And in fact, the service dog does not need any registration or certification. There's no such thing. In fact, any registration or certification that you find for a service dog online is fake. There is no such thing as a real certification because the government does not require one, and specifically says in the ADA law that you do not need a registration or certification. In fact, legally, you don't even need a vest. You don't have to go in a store with a vest on. It's a good idea, but you don't legally need to. What a service dog isn't is, hey, I want to take my dog on planes. Can you make him into a service dog? Well, I mean, if you have a disability that we can train the dog to do a task for, then, the dog can be a service dog. But service dog is not, something of just convenience. It's not something that, hey, I want to take my dog in planes and stores, or, in summertime it gets really hot and I can't leave my dog in the car anymore when I'm in the store. So let's just turn him into a service dog. That's not what a service dog is. Like I said, a service dog is trained specifically to do task work to mitigate a disability. And so that's what it is. Service dog also needs to have what we would term public access obedience, which is where the dog in public is very well behaved, very well mannered, listens to you, is not going to go up and say hi to other people, not going to say hi to dogs, things like that. And so that's a service dog. Now, an ESA, or emotional support animal, is a different case. An emotional support animal essentially is a dog that kind of makes you feel better. And so it doesn't have specific training. It's just its mere presence makes you feel better. And so an ESA has some potential rights, but not as many as a service dog. And so you can't take an ESA into a grocery store legally. You can't legally take an ESA. Well, that is unless the grocery store says it's okay. But you can't legally take an ESA into the movie theaters and things like that. ESAs do have certain rights, and I recommend you look them up. They do have certain rights on airplanes and in rental homes. But if you're thinking about like taking, needing a dog that's going to actually help you with a disability, you're not talking about an emotional support animal. You're talking about a service animal. If you're simply talking, my pet makes me feel good, you might be talking about an emotional support animal. And again, I recommend you look up the law, because I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer here, as far as owning an emotional support animal in an apartment or a rental home or something like that. Emotional support animals don't get rights in hotels. But anyways, so that's the difference between the two. The main difference is that the service dog has public access obedience, and the service dog has task work, whereas the ESA does not. Having said that, an ESA could have really good obedience, but if it doesn't have the task work, it's not a service dog. Now again, this is really just figured out in the courts, because there is no certification, there is no registration. It's not like some governing body is going to come around and say, yours is emotional support, yours is service. Really where, these issues are resolved is in the courts when, somebody comes along and their dog isn't trained well, yet they're still trying to take it into public. Or a dog is trained perfectly, but is kicked out of a restaurant or something like that. Then these issues are resolved in the courts and resolved with law enforcement. They're not resolved with registrations, certifications, or anything like that. Now, the third designation that I was speaking about is a therapy animal. Now, a therapy animal essentially has no real rights unless somebody gives it to them. What a therapy animal is generally a dog that is going to go around and visit an old folks home, a senior center, a children's hospital, an intensive care unit, whatever, some place where there's people, and the dog is there to make them feel better. Maybe he's going to jump up in their lap and curl up into a ball, and they're going to pet him. Maybe he's going to go out and play ball with the kids, things like that. And so yeah, there is no specific training. Plenty of therapy dogs do, specific training. Really, a therapy dog should be very obedient, but there's no task work necessary to be a therapy dog. There's nothing like that. We always tell our clients that if you want a therapy dog, the first thing you should do is talk with the facility where you want to donate your time, because every one of them can have different rules and regulations regarding therapy dogs. There's not one governing body that says this is what a therapy dog should be. And so like I say, you'd want to check with the place where you're going to do the service and figure out what requirements they're looking for when looking for a therapy dog. But a therapy dog cannot ride on a plane. A therapy dog cannot go in a store. A therapy dog cannot go in the movies. A therapy dog does not have rights in your home. A therapy dog is just a dog that if the hospital or the senior center or whatever allows it to, can come in and give some service, donate some time and help out those folks. And so again, hopefully that kind of outlines really well what the difference is. This is becoming a contentious topic because a lot of folks are faking service dogs. They want to take dogs places, and so they slap a vest on them and say, hey, this is a service dog, when the dog hasn't been trained for that. And really, this is not a good thing to do. This will more than likely eventually ruin things for people that actually have disabilities and have dogs that are trained to do task work for those disabilities. It can eventually ruin, it could, if the laws change, ruin their access. But in the meantime, before laws are rewritten and changed, really what it does is it just cheapens the idea of a service dog, because I can't tell you how many of my clients have said, hey, I'm out in public, my dog's being great, and another dog tries to attack it or tries to, barks at it. Or, so you've got these untrained dogs in public that are being passed off as service dogs when really they aren't. It's dangerous, it's irresponsible, things like that. But again, hopefully this helps you understand the difference between service dog, emotional support animal, and therapy dog.